All right. The Lord said, "Let there be light," Morgan, and we can see you. We also
Yeah.
saw you said 5 dogs. You have 5 dogs.
Yes.
I saw one in the background a minute
Yes.
ago. What are their names? What are the breeds?
Yeah.
All the things.
They are all Basset Hounds. In order of age, it's Leo, Maggie, Patty, Gus, and Hank.
Are none of them football references?
No, no. My wife names them.
Okay, oh, that
So
makes
if
sense.
we're gonna do any football references, uh,
Aaron.
it'd be Vikings, and I just won't allow that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, well, good. Yeah, I expect. I don't. I mean, I don't know what I expected name wise, but I kind of was expecting at least a like football related name. But it makes more sense if you said she's naming them. So, um, I know she's in the background. Tell her we say hello and tell her we say thanks for putting up with all the fantasy football stuff. I feel like all of the wives, girlfriends, or boyfriends. I don't know. I guess of everybody need like a special shout out or a day whenever we all get together to like talk shit about us for how much they put up with. That's for sure. Especially my wife. She is a saint usually. Um, but we're here for football. 104, and we adamantly discussed that you didn't have much intention to take um, Travis Hunter at 102. He was taken at 103. So in a sense, it's a back-to-back pick for you here, which I'm sure you're excited about. So talk me through the process. When we talked early this morning, after I told you Travis Hunter was the pick, you were waffling between, not waffling, I shouldn't say that, but you were like, I've got to figure it out between these two. Um, what was your process? Who were those players, if you want to share? And then where did we end up?
It was between Cam Ward and Tet. The pick is going to be Tet McMillan. So uh, my process there was, I was looking at my roster and I'm seeing I got 3 quarterbacks, that are startable. Assuming JJ McCarthy's a starter. And I also conferenced with my wife because she guarantees me that JJ McCarthy's gonna be the best quarterback in football
Oh, okay.
this year. But um, she was okay. Thank you. So my thought process was looking at my roster. I'm like, you know what? If one of those quarterbacks goes down, or JJ McCarthy gets beat out, or something happens where I don't have two legitimately starting quarterbacks, I think I'm in a position where I'm going to be willing to trade for a quarterback anyways, just to limp through the season a little bit. And I'm looking
Right,
at my receiving core, and I'm seeing, I got Puka Nakua, but he gets hurt. Jordan
right.
Addison got hurt last year. He's on the cusp of being a really good receiver. Um, I got Debo Samuel. He's old, and I got the stack with Jaden Daniels, but what are the chances he makes it the whole season? Then I got J-Mo Williams. What is the chances he's got anything? And
Right.
I've got a couple guys on my roster. Quentin Johnston, maybe he makes a leap.
Maybe
Darnell
something.
Mooney
Yeah.
did well last year. But I've got, like, other than pretty much my starting three, there's not a whole lot of assuredness there. So
True.
what I'm thinking, I've got two starting quarterbacks for sure, and probably a third in JJ McCarthy. So I figured, you know what? Let's use this. Let's take the number one wide receiver taken in the draft. Um, I don't consider Travis Hunter a wide receiver in that. I just consider him an athlete, because who the hell knows what he's going to be.
Right.
So I just settled on Tet then. I watched about 10 clips of him, and I saw him catch the ball with his hands, which is more than I can say for Quentin Johnston.
Yep.
And he looked like he was a little aggressive, and wasn't like wanting to go down. He wasn't pulling a Tyler Lockett or anything. So he's got just enough aggressiveness. And, Bryce Young's out there throwing to the corpse of Adam Thielen and Xavier Legette, who has like brick hands right now, and maybe he gets better. So I just feel like Tet McMillan offered a lot of value here. I thought about a Mika Egbuka for a second, but I looked at the Cheesehead TV draft guide, and they weren't like super high on him. Matthew Golden was at play in my mind, but I thought, well, he's the third receiver taken. I think there's going to be a lot of competition for snaps. I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to be given to Matthew Golden. And as much as you might say, oh, well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for a football team. It's not necessarily
Not for
good
your
for a
fantasy team,
fantasy
though.
team.
Right.
Yeah.
10 snaps is double what you watched for your 102 at the Marion Hampton, so I'm proud of you. You've increased how much homework you said you're doing on these players. I completely forget what I was gonna kind of dig in on something you said there, but it is shot out of my brain like incredibly quickly. So we'll just pretend like the last 10 seconds didn't happen, and we'll just kind of keep going. I remembered it, of course, immediately. The other thing too, I think, to kind of add to your process is I feel like it would be, you're in a window. Your window isn't closing anytime soon, right? But I feel like you believe, and I believe that you're in a bit of a window right now. I don't see a world where a rookie quarterback, and no offense, on the Titans comes in and would outproduce what Jaden Daniels is going to probably do, and what Baker's probably going to do. And even that JJ McCarthy with Hawkinson, Addison, and Jefferson. So I kind of agree with and echo kind of what you're saying with Ted McMillan, in the sense of, you add the fourth quarterback, it probably doesn't help as much, whereas Ted could kind of come in and have that immediate impact that you're hoping for on your team. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. And I like Adam Thielen. Don't make fun of Adam Thielen, even though he's 80 years old. The dude won me my first ever championship back when he was with the Vikings. Him and Todd Gurley carried me in like a 2015, 2016 something finals. I don't remember. What are your predictions kind of here for the rest of the draft? We already kind of talked a bit about your team build and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to take it a different direction and kind of pull it out more with the rest of the league. Nate's up here, or not Nate. Chase is up here at 105. Nate is up then at 106. Have you kind of looked ahead? You've got one more pick later on this draft, if I'm not mistaken. You have the comp pick in the first round, don't you? What did Chase end up with? Okay, Chase.
Me and Chase were just in a fucking bare knuckle brawl while the cupcakes were winning all the money.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about that last time too. But I thought you do have another pick later this round or something. Am I crazy?
Not later this round. I have a 2 and I have a 3 left.
Yeah, I'm getting.
Who knows if I could package something to get back into the first round. Right now, I'll just see who's on the board. If somebody falls that I really like, there's probably 2 people that if they fall far, I'd be willing to give up something. But
yeah,
we'll see. I'd be in the market for the late, like 111, 112, 113 would be where I'd be looking for that.
So without tipping the hand a whole bunch, because obviously I don't want to spoil your draft strategy, but you might not be picking for some time. How do you feel like the rest of the board shakes up? Are there any prospects that you're personally excited about as a coach who kind of looks for these things maybe a bit more than the rest of us do, or anything like that? Or any fits to teams that you think makes a lot of sense, whether that's player to NFL, or in our league to a player or position or anything like that?
I am interested in Savion Williams. He's a Packers guy, and the Packers draft is the one I really paid attention to. But I'm excited for him because he's kind of he's just a gadget guy. You could use him in a lot of stuff, but he could be a guy who demands a few touches every game, like guaranteed touches. So that'd be kind of interesting to see where he falls. Maybe he's not a first rounder guy, and I mean he might be back half of the second, but I think he could get a steal there. There's so many of these running backs. I keep hearing that it's a deep draft class, and I heard Vivian or Victoria or whatever was talking about how he thought like Trey Hendrickson could be a play here, and Ramondre Stevenson hurts that. So the idea that you have like a second round running back that could be in the play at the 104, it's kind of wild if their running back class is that deep. I think you get late into the second round and there's going to be some like 5th round running backs maybe that you're like, wow, they could maybe have some playing potential.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're as impact as like Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th.
Right.
He just kind of took that over, but there's some interesting options late in the 2nd and into the 3rd. Like, I got Tajay Spears in the 3rd round. And I think there's probably better running backs that are going to be available in the 3rd round this year.
What I think is also something that's tricky to figure out too, right, is like you look at base rates and hit rates for certain draft positions for NFL running backs, right? Like first round does really well generally. Second and third round do pretty good. Third day 3 like is when the like that cliff kind of starts. But I almost wonder how much, because the class was so deep, those early day 3 running backs are maybe more valuable than we might think that they are, or those late ones might be like a normally like an early third day pick. So I think it might lead to it, just like you can't kind of do this cookie cutter. They run day 3, they're probably not as valuable, right? But that remains to be seen in kind of terms of how we value people and what happens in training camp and preseason and all that good stuff. Since there were so many open spots, and some that got drafted too, like the Broncos, and some that didn't, like the Cowboys. So yeah, I don't know what happens from here, but we'll see.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
think you have to look at what they can do as rookie running backs. Is the biggest thing rookie running backs struggle with is pass
Pass
protection,
protection. Yep.
and it's really hard to put them on. So if you've got a guy who's a little bit further ahead on that, or a guy who can catch the ball, those are more opportunities to be on the field, because pretty much all these guys can run the ball and get you 4 yards.
Yeah.
They might not be as violent as Pacheco or as like dynamic as Saquon, but they can pretty much round 1 through 7, they can all get you 4 yards.
Yeah.
Like they've been running the football for fucking years. They know how to instinctively, do that stuff. But it's okay. That doesn't really separate you. Can you pass protect? Can you catch the ball? And if you got a guy, that's why I was excited about like Omarion Hampton, is I'm looking at the catching stuff and I see like Ashton Genty caught 20 balls, but I think Omarion Hampton caught like 38, and I'm just thinking like that's an average of over 2 a game.
Yeah.
So that's not like they
points.
were relying on him, but he's a guy where they could look at and be like, yeah, if we need to throw it to him, we can. That's why I'm
Yeah.
excited about a guy like that, because he can be on the field consistently. There's more opportunities for him to see the field than there is for a guy who just doesn't catch the ball or doesn't pass protect as well.
Yeah, one well blocked screen can be just an instant 2.5, 3 points.
Yep.
Versus the run up the middle that some guys can only do that gets you 0.3 points. Really can change the game. So, any final thoughts? Keeping this one short and sweet, since we talked a lot the last one and just talked recently. But any final thoughts? Anything you want to go over? We saw the skull come in from the wife. That was fun. We can see the cats in the background too. Do you have cats as well?
I also have 3 cats. Yes.
Sheesh.
Yep.
Any other animals? What is the rundown?
No.
Just
It's
the 5
just
and
3
3?
cats, 5 dogs. It's still too many animals, but it's just 3 cats, 5 dogs.
We should start doing.
Um,
If you win the league, you get a puppy or something, like a
Yeah.
grand prize.
I'll breed them and I'll just send them to everybody.
Perfect. Only Basset Hounds.
Yeah, that's all they are. They're all Basset Hounds.
There you go.
They're the
Perfect.
cutest little shits in the world.
Yeah, they are cute. My wife had a Basset Hound. Cute little thing. Never got to meet him, unfortunately, but they are adorable. So, all right, that does it for us then. Chase, you're on the clock at 1:05. Hopefully, be able to talk to him today, if not tomorrow or sometime soon. So we'll see what happens there. Otherwise,
Get
have a
that
good night.
recording
And
tonight.
then Nate, you're in the hole, so that means Morgan, you got to text him, I think, sometimes. Even though he was in the
I'll
chat the other
message
day. But excited to talk to Nate. We haven't talked to Nate since he kind of joined the league, so excited to hear his perspective of the draft, what he's been up to. And I don't think we've talked to Chase in a year as well. So definitely one of my favorite times of the year, just catching up with everybody, and looking forward to doing that soon.